Thank you, Colonel Valga. And we also have a request that Associate Professor Harald Kell, the chairman of the implementation group, would like to say some opening words. Colonel Kell, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. How do we handle it with the click of the next slides? Do you do it?
Yes, Birgit will do it. She's ready.
Okay, thank you very much for the floor. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Estonian Military Academy for organizing this seminar, in particular to Birgit and to Anna and all the staff in the background. Even if we would prefer to come personally to Estonia and to the beautiful city of Tartu, this is a good approach to keep the momentum in our initiative. I asked Birgit to do the first presentation to give you an overview what has happened in the past concerning the LOD10 gender mainstreaming, how it is embedded into the Emilio implementation group, what has been achieved, and what is the future. Next, please. So the context of the briefing is how the whole story began with the initiative, who is involved, what are we doing, what has been achieved, and which are the future developments. Next, please. On the left side, okay, sorry. How it began. Now, based on the European security strategy in 2003 and on the implementation report of the European security strategy in 2008, all, and I have to stress really, all the European Union ministers of defense decided to establish an implementation group for the so-called European Initiative for the Exchange of Young Officers inspired by Erasmus. You may have heard other names for this initiative, which is Military Erasmus, Erasmus Militaire, the abbreviation Emilio, which stands for Exchange of Military Young Officers, or just in short, the initiative. The goals were to increase interoperability, to harmonize the European Union basic officer education, and thus to promote a truly European security and defense culture. Now, this European security and defense culture is probably sounds a little bit weak in the ears of a military person, but it is, for example, that an Estonian cadet sees the challenges, the threats of the European Union from the south as their own ones, or a Portuguese cadet sees the threats of Estonia also as their own ones within the Union. Next, please. Now, how it is embedded. On top, there's the High Representative, Josep Borrell, the High Representative and Vice President of the European Union. On his side, he has, under quotation marks, a European Union Minister of Foreign Affairs, or in the real name, it is called the European External Action Service. Embedded into this EEAS is the European Security and Defense College. So a college of networks of higher education institutions of the European Union, offering a lot of courses, a lot of different educations, and embedded into that, into the European Security and Defense College is the Secretariat. The Secretariat provides the administrative environment for our implementation group. The implementation group itself consists of basic officer education institutions representatives from the 27 member states and 62, around 62, it depends how you count it, European Union basic officer education institutions. And linked to that are all services from the Army, from the Air Force, the Navy, the technical field, the medical field, but also military forces charged with police duties, for example, the Carabinieri in Italy, or militarized police force such as the Guardia di Finanza. Next, please. Very soon we have developed within the implementation group so-called lines of development. And they last from, let's say, a system of equivalencies, development of competences, to the creation of international semesters. At the moment, we are working on international semesters for the Navy, the Air Force, the technical, and we are in the first steps for the medical semesters. Next, please. And one of these lines of development is gender mainstreaming. A very important issue, how the steps were done, you see on the next slide, please. Well, based on an idea during the International Military Academic Forum in Budapest, we said that we should create an Erasmus Gender Seminar. So the first one was held in September 2018 at the Therese Military Academy in Austria. Few months later, in November, during the 10th anniversary of our initiative, the implementation group voted on the chairperson, who is Colonel Associate Professor Atanasova Kasheva Nevena from the National Defense University in Veliko Tarnovo in Bulgaria. Officially launched was this LOD number 10, Gender Mainstreaming, during the 10th anniversary, as said before, at the Hellenic Air Force Academy in Athens in November 2018. 1 year later, we had the second Erasmus Gender Seminar in Bulgaria, in Veliko Tarnovo. And there we decided, and it was agreed, to have the third one in Estonia. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it was postponed, delayed, but I'm really happy and grateful that now the Estonian Military Academy organizes, at least virtually, this third Erasmus Gender Seminar, just to keep the momentum, which is very important. We all hope that in a few months, hopefully, this pandemic is just history. Another important step was done in December 2020, based on the initiative of the Portuguese Military Academy. They created the Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnership Project concerning military gender studies. And there is involved Portugal as the lead nation, Bulgaria, the National Defense University, Italy, in Turin, Romania, the Land Forces Academy, and as an associated partner, the Hellenic Air Force Academy in Athens. And I'm pretty sure that Sofia will tell you later more about this strategic partnership project. Next one. What are we doing? What has been achieved so far? So in September 2008, during the first gender seminar, we created a white paper. You can download these documents from our Emilia homepage. I will show you on the next slides where you can download it from. Already said before, officially launched in November 2018. We had in October 2019 the second gender seminar, where we agreed on to organize a trainers course. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, this has not been fulfilled so far, but I'm of good hope that Nevena, the chairperson of our LOD 10, will work on that. Then we have quarterly implementation group meetings, and during these quarterly IG meetings, always on the first day, also an LOD 10 meeting takes place. What I expect in the near future, and we will discuss when you have had a look to the agenda, probably going into details during the syndicate discussions, real results out of this LOD 10 meetings, namely a common module, the creation of a common module. Then we have the annual gender seminar on our schedule, and we also have this LOD 10 elaborations during the annual International Military Academic Forum. About the strategic partnership project, I do not count it to the meetings because it's a specific project by these institutions. But at least from the implementation group perspective, we have 6 meetings concerning gender mainstreaming per year, which is a lot. And I again have to stress that very rarely other groups have so many meetings per year. Next, please. Further information. If you click to this Emilia homepage, you will find in this button mobility offers and multiply events all the information you need. Here, I hope you can read it, is also mentioned this 3rd Erasmus Gender Seminar. And if you go, next please, if you go into detail to the button lines of development, and there you click onto gender mainstreaming, you will have all the documents of this LOD number 10, which have been elaborated so far. Also, in the conversation before this meeting with Birgit, we agreed on that I receive all the presentations during this seminar, and I will upload these presentations onto this button under the submenu LOD 10. And here again, let's say a request which we have sent to you and we requested from you during each implementation group meeting. You see here as the 4th document, a questionnaire which Nevena created. And Nevena asked all the institutions to fill it in and to send it to Nevena, because this is the basic for our further studies. And my kind request to all of you is, as if you have not done so far, please fill in this questionnaire and send it to Nevena. Next, please. Yeah, this is a picture from our first Erasmus Gender Seminar, and I have to stress this is the habit of our group. We are friends, we name each other with full names, we forget about ranks, academic degrees, and so on. And my motto in the implementation group is, and this should also be the motto of this seminar, friends achieve more. Next, please. So this concludes my presentation, very briefly, how it is embedded. I thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please ask immediately. Thank you very much, and I will give back the floor to Estonia.
Thank you. Okay, seems we don't have any immediate questions. Thank you very much, Harald. Next, I will give a short presentation about how gender mainstreaming is handled in the Estonian Military Academy, and then we will continue with all the other presenters. Okay. In Estonia, the official approach to gender treatment is that there is no gender treatment. Everyone is supposedly equal. In the military, it means that there are no restrictions in fields of service where females can or cannot go. The only difference is in sport exam levels, where you have to do the same kind of exercises, but the results expected of you vary based on your age and your sex. However, we do not have any gender equalization, gender mainstreaming, any other gender issue training, either for cadets, for officers in their further service, or for conscript leaders for that matter. Meaning the issue is mainly not addressed at all. Also, there is no job position in the entire armed forces that would specialize on gender issues. Meaning, if you should have whatever kind of problem and you cannot solve it through your superiors, you have only the general methods of complaint. You don't have anything specifically dedicated to gender issues. Some numbers in Estonian Defense Forces. Since the year 2013, women were finally able to do conscription officially. Before that, it was all kind of under the ropes methods, meaning you either did your conscription but was actually a volunteer or actually in some other sort of service contract. But from the year 2013, there are 123 women in total who have passed conscription. In the year 2017, there were the year 20 now, 336 women out of 3,500 are working as an active duty personnel, meaning it's almost 10%, as is the NATO average. Of conscripts, about 60% of female conscripts stay in active duty. Of females, then of total, it's about 3%. In the year 2019, we had our first female battalion commander, as was mentioned by Colin Valge. And this year, we currently have 54 female cadets out of 3,500 something. Now, if we go more specifically into military academy, then overall, we've had 151 women applied to the military academy, which is about 4.9% of all applicants throughout years. But only 45 have been accepted. Graduated from the Estonian Military Academy have only 15 women, which is less than 2%. Now, until about 10 years ago, people mostly dropped out from the academy for family reasons, and by people I mean female cadets. But after that, it is failure in tactical subjects. Now, this is a question for me if we don't know our tactics, or if there is some sort of hidden discrimination behind there. That's one issue that is entirely not addressed. However, we are making good progress in getting women to serve as officers. So today there are 10 female cadets out of 162 cadets total. And we have our first female master student out of 58 master students total. How Estonia plans to improve this matter? We have several campaigns that invite women into service. We have lots of females on the military academy promotion advertisements. But we do not have any plan to teach our personnel to address the gender issue. And the media coverage about females in service focuses basically on two questions. Is it hard? And how do boys treat you? It does not advertise females as being successful and achieving on fields of whatever military service, but more being female, which is a bit sad in my personal opinion. In the Estonian Military Academy, we do not have a plan to implement special gender subject in total, but we have an agreement that we will hope to implement some gender topics into studies using other subjects. So we just integrate it into leadership, psychology, etc., other subjects. So this is how we do things today. I hope it gave you some overview. And next, I would hear from the Royal Military Academy of Belgium. Is there anyone who will present this? Hello, Delfina. We see you, but we cannot hear you. I see you are talking with. Delfina, do you have something to troubleshoot this, or should I let the next presenter do their presentation and maybe you can try something in the meantime? Okay, I will give the floor to the next presenter, and then perhaps Belgium can try to fix some issues. You can test it.
Is it okay now? Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'll give you a second. She will switch the slides back. Yes. Hey, hello.
Okay, so you can hear me. Okay, just 1 minute. I'm just doing. Okay. So, is it okay now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So thank you very much for organizing this seminar and also for inviting me. So I'm Delphine Resteng. I'm professor at the Belgian Military Academy here in Brussels, and I'm working at the chair of sociology for more than 20 years. And I'm working also on a gender issue for a long time. So next slide, please. Next slide, could you? Yeah, thank you. So I will present here several tools that we use at the Belgian Defense. And my main point is that we should put the emphasis on socialization and a lot of emphasis because, of course, socialization can be seen as an enabler to encourage organizational changes and inclusion, notably with regard to gender. And then I will present some initiatives that we have conducted here at the Royal Military Academy. And then I will have and share with you some conclusions. Next slide, thank you. So because of the time and the agenda, I will not share with you all the tools that we have, the national action plans, but we have now, we are busy with our third national action plans. And of course, this reflects a lot of our priority with regard to women, peace and security. And here, so as I mentioned, the idea is to look at what we have done at the military academy and also to give you some element and data with regard to gender and the Belgian defense. Next slide, please. So here I have only taken into account the main objectives. So the Belgian National Action Plan, like I mentioned, we are busy with our third NAP. You see here the 6 main objectives and our priority of actions. And of course, if we look at the Belgian defense, we are busy with some of those main objectives, notably, for example, promote women's participation in process concerning conflict, peace, and security. Thank you. Next slide. If we look at what we have done, so we had our first woman back at the end of the 70s, and now we have around 9% of women in the Belgian Defense Forces. And of course, we can look at it from a quantitative approach or from a qualitative approach, because we have, of course, differences among components, among services. And if we look at our military personnel in operations, we see that we have a smaller amount of women, so around 6%. We have conducted several surveys on that, and what was also very interesting is that a lot of women wanted to go and want to go to operation, but for several reasons. For example, the fact that a lot of women are actually together with a man who is also from the military, and if somebody has to make a choice, very often, sometimes it's the man who will go on operations. So there is actually around 1/3 of female military personnel who had never been sent to military operations, although they would have liked to participate. Of course, we have also areas with some positive changes. I will pick, for example, 2 of them. Our current Minister of Defense is a woman, and also the Royal Military Academy. So I will explain to you some of our positive changes here. Next slide, please. So like I just mentioned, so since October 2020, our Minister of Defense is Ludivine de Donder. And when we analyze what she mentioned officially, she had put some emphasis on people, on the military personnel, civilian, and also on diversity. So in one of her interview in the press, she mentioned, for example, we plan to recruit a lot, mostly young women, and with a special attention to diversity. So it's it's a new attention, because if we look at the previous Minister of Defense, diversity was not really a priority for them. Next slide, please. And here at the Military Academy, like I mentioned to you, I'm working here for a long time, and I was looking also. I'm also teaching at the university, and I was looking at the initiative that different universities have taken with regard to gender. So, more than 2 years ago, I proposed to the commander here at the of our institution to develop a sort of action plan. So I've written our action plan based on the federal requirements, and I have of course adapted to the specificities of our military environment. So my main point was that one of the main obstacles with regard to gender was related to the organizational culture of military organization. And of course, because maybe more than policy, our culture is impacting our action, our expectations, the image of the organization. So my starting point was to put some emphasis on the professional socialization and in order to try to adapt the military culture, because of course we are here teaching for the future officers, senior officers, who will have a potential great impact on the rest of the organization. Thank you. Next slide. And what I also try to emphasize also during my courses, so I'm teaching courses on cultural dimensions in operation, and I also try to look at and try to see at my students, for example, that we are all influenced by our cognitive bias, by a sort of very informal dimensions and unconscious. Here it's an experiment who was done in the university in the UK, and the professor asked her student to picture a leader, and according to the main respondents, female and male, almost everybody drew actually a picture of a man. So next slide, please. So both men and women always almost draw men. And what I wanted to let you see, it's not new. Of course, a lot of literature has already been written on that, but we all have unconscious assumptions about gender, the image of women, and also with regard to leaders. And that is also at stake for our education process here at the military academy. So, for example, I remember a discussion that I had with the impact of the voice. When a woman is reading something, sometimes the same script is deciphered in another way. Next slide, please. So here, if we look at our percentage of women, we have a very positive change. So right now we have around between 20 and 30% of women in the military academy. So it's a lot with regards to the Belgian defense, when we have only around 9%. So this trend is also following the same trends that we have at university, where we have also more and more women. Next slide, please. So what do we do at the RMA? Like I mentioned before, I developed an action plan with the support of the commander, and also we have 2 meetings a year, and with members of all layers of the organization, including cadets and disregard ranks. So I wanted to have a mix of every service in the group. Next slide, please. And we also collect, of course, we are following a plan, and the idea is also to collect data, qualitative and quantitative. We also have conducted interview with all cadets who left the RMA. So we had an attrition report, and we looked at the gender issue, for example, related to military culture, sports. And also we have conducted a diversity survey regarding not only gender diversity, but also all types of diversity, because our point of view is that the attitude with regard to diversity is also very important. We don't have to look only at gender issue. Next slide, please. And also, at the chair of sociology, of course, I encourage my cadets to study gender. So I have very often a lot of cadets who are coming at my chair and asking to do their bachelor or master's thesis with regard to gender diversity or other types of diversity. And there are also a more creative initiative like a diversity theater, for example, which were organized 1 week ago with role plays for cadets and discussions like you can see on the picture. Next slide, please. And so my conclusion, sometimes I have the impression that there is a slight gender fatigue because, of course, we have women for a long time, but the progression is very slow. And I think that we can add a special emphasis in order to try to speed up the process during the socialization process. So the idea is to encourage the development of a critical mass, but also to have a diverse minority group. So to try to include more diverse women in order to avoid stereotypical images. And also, according to our survey, one point of action is to try to encourage solidarity between women, because you have those queen bee effects and all the type of effects in a very homogenized environment. And then, of course, expose cadets to more women in leadership position. Next slide, please. And that was my presentation, so I hope I wasn't too long. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, you can just write me an email. I'm sorry, I will not be able to attend the whole day because I have to teach in some minutes. But I will try to come back after my courses and also tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We don't have much time for questions, but I would like to give the floor now to Hellenic Military Academy of Combat Support Officers from Greece.
I have a question to Delphine.
Sorry?
I have a question to Delphine.
Okay, I can, yeah.
More a statement than a question. It would be nice if you could participate in the implementation group meetings, at least when we are in Brussels.
Okay.
2 times per year we are in Brussels, and one time, normally it's the February meeting, we are hosted by the Royal Military Academy, so it's only a few meters to go and to participate in the gender mainstreaming line of development.
Yeah, I already have heard about your project, but not very concretely. So I'm very happy, and I also take several notes. And I have also students who will do our bachelor thesis on military Erasmus, and she will contact you. But of course, I will be happy to take part in the discussion here and maybe to organize a conference here at the Military Academy. Of course, thank you.
Yep, the organization for this gender mainstreaming is up to the implementation group, so we just have to participate, let's say, with Nevena in this number 10. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's continue with Hellenic Military Academy, please.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I'm Lieutenant Commander Vasiliki Sartetaki. I'm very happy to be with you. I'm very happy to find all these wonderful colleagues and share knowledge and best practices or just good practices. So I'm going to speak on the behalf of Hellenic Military Academy of Combat Support Officers. But after this fantastic presentation from Professor Delphine, I'm a little bit intimidated because my presentation is more generic, more introductory. So please forgive me for this. So this is our, okay, my agenda is location, mission, academy, specialties, education and training. And what about gender perspective in Hellenic Military Academy of Combat Support Officers? So next slide, please. So where are we located? I cannot see it. So we are located in Thessaloniki, Greece. In the second largest city of Greece, in the beautiful city of Thessaloniki. Next slide, please. And our mission, the Hellenic Military Academy mission, is to provide up-to-date scientific and military education to cadets in a harmonious combination. We're proud to be both soldiers and scientists. Next slide, please. So we do serve in the 3 branches of Hellenic Armed Forces: Army, Navy, Air Force, and Hellenic Police. Next slide, please. And we have 7 different specialties: medicine, dentistry, pharmaceutics, veterinary, psychology, finance, economy, and law. Next slide, please. So we have, we educate and train our cadets. We do have military training in the premises of the academy. And we have the academic education through Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. So depending on the specialty, the cadets attend courses in the corresponding departments. Next slide, please. So what about the gender perspective? So in total, we have 394 cadets. So 55% of our cadets are males, 218, while 45% of our cadets are female. The first female cadet entered the academy back in 1989. And now you can see that almost 50% of the cadets are females and 50% of the cadets are males. So we're making progress. Next slide, please. Are there any limitations? No, as far as it concerns the physical fitness requirements, they are the same. There are no quotas for men and women, and there are no differences in fitness requirements during the education period. Next slide, please. What about gender training? So there is not a specific gender awareness course in the academy, but Hellenic Military Academy of Combat Support Officers collaborates with Aristotle University and the University of Macedonia in regards to academic training. So our cadets have the opportunity to attend gender-related seminars. For instance, last December we had the opportunity to attend the Women in Diplomacy seminar. Is this enough? No. We need a shift in the organizational culture in order to essentially embed and embrace gender perspective. And seminars are not enough. Next slide, please. So eventually, we hope to learn from you. And I will conclude this with a quote from Neruda. You can cut all the flowers, but you cannot present spring from coming. So gender perspective for us is the spring that we are all waiting for. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this really nice presentation and this nice conclusion. As I just added to chat as well, we are really tight on schedule since we have way more participants than we originally expected. So I will just leave on the floor to Romanian Land Forces Academy in Sibiu, Nicolae Bălescu Academy, please.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that you can all hear me. My name is Ramona Herman, and I am the Erasmus coordinator at the Land Forces Academy in Sibiu, Romania. I just wrote something on the chat that maybe since we don't have enough time to do all the presentations and we have so many newcomers, maybe somebody else would like to present their perspectives on gender-related issues in their institutions. Because the Land Forces Academy in Sibiu, Romania, and the ones from Bulgaria, Portugal, and also Austria have done so many presentations during the IG meetings. It's just an idea. So I will be able to show our presentation from our university, but also if somebody else wants to take the floor, for me it's no problem. It's up to you. Maybe there is another institution that would like to tell us some new ideas. Like Colonel Giel said, we are some sort of dinosaurs in this aspect. Is there anybody else who would like to do the presentation, or shall I just start with mine?
Well, the Academia General Militar would like to do the presentation if it is possible.
Thank you. Thank you. It will be a pleasure to hear some new ideas and some new presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If we still have time, I will do it at the end. So for us, it's no problem. Okay, Birgit?
Thank you so much. Actually, we have Academy General Militar from Spain somewhere in the list anyway. But yeah, I like your idea, Ramona. So maybe I'll just we will take just newcomers first and leave the more experienced participants to later. Hungary. So let's. Okay. So, but let's move on to Academia General Militar from Spain then.
Yes. Can you see me? Yes. Hello. Good morning. My name is Cristina Saizenfedake, and I am a civilian English language teacher at the Academia General Militar in Zaragoza, Spain. And I am here with you to talk about the AGM formation and gender perspective. Next, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. The Spanish Constitution dates back to 1978, and it is the basis and pillar of which the principles and values of our nation are based. Its Article 14 states the right to equality and non-discrimination on grounds of gender. Moreover, Article 9.2 mandates public authorities to promote conditions so that the equality of the individual and of the groups in which it is integrated is real and effective. The right to equality is a priority for our nation, and it is reflected in the legislative development of laws and action plans, as the one from 2017, which says that this second National Action Plan of Women, Peace and Security will include formation on grounds of gender in all the programs of access and promotion within the armed forces. Next, please. Our armed forces are fully integrated in the society they serve, and they have incorporated this issue to its structure and organization. Actually, we can highlight the creation of the Military Observatory for the Equality between Men and Women in 2005, or the Protocol of Action Against Sexual Harassment and on Grounds of Gender in 2015. Next, please. The AGM has lately celebrated its 139th anniversary of its foundation and is responsible for the formation of all the officers of the Army. It was in 1988 when the first woman entered the AGM with the Royal Decree 1/1988, which regulated the incorporation of the women in the Spanish Armed Forces. Nowadays, the percentage of women is around 11%. The future officers of the AGM come from the Army, the Civil Guard, and the 3 Service Corps of the Spanish Armed Forces. The academic syllabus, set up since 2010, includes military training and an engineering degree. Their formation is composed of 333 credits in 5 academic years and 52 weeks of instruction and training. The University Center of Defense, attached to the University of Zaragoza, provides the degree. This University Center of Defense is located inside the AGM. Next slide, please. The students receive an all-round education, a cross-curricular formation, and also its academic syllabus focuses on the analysis of international, national, and specific regulations of the Spanish Armed Forces. Next, please. Since 2017, there has been a gender perspective group working on gender perspective covering 5 lines of action: student consciousness and formation, analysis of the impact of gender perspective at the AGM, formation and participation of the teachers, lines of research on gender perspective, and the diffusion of gender perspective policies. At the AGM, there is a promotion of activities to raise consciousness about the importance of all those policies. Next, please. This gender perspective group has carried out outstanding activities, such as seminars, as the one you can see on the slide, conferences, and what we call the Cervantes Chair, a forum where most well-known speakers all around the world deal with different topics, also with gender perspective matters. Next one, please. You can see here two speakers in Cervantes chair. The purpose of all these activities is to detect the deficiencies of formative needs to propose more lines of action. Next, please. At the AGM, the gender perspective is present in all subjects, such as the constitutional law or the international law of the armed conflicts, where in a repetitive way, there is a reference to the principles of equality, non-discrimination on grounds of gender, or the treatment of women in armed conflicts. Next, please. Other outstanding activities held at the AGM are conferences on values and on the protocol against sexual harassment and on grounds of gender. You can see here one of our sessions. Thank you very much. Next one. Some students choose gender perspective as the topic for their final degree research projects, and also say that in Spain there is the figure of gender advisor in operations and is of great help. And finally, next slide, please. I have to say that teachers play an important role. As the Teachers Decalogue points out in its Article 5, teachers will dedicate their efforts to the integral formation of cadets, aware that ethical principles, maturity and professional capacity constitute a whole in their development as a person. Let me finish by quoting Immanuel Kant, who said, "How then is perfection to be sought? Wherein lies our hope? In education and in nothing else." That's all. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonio. I really like this last Article 5 of yours. But, let's now move on to Hungary. National University of Public Service. I know you have not sent it, so do you have anything you would like to present on your result? Hungary? Yeah. But it seems that we do not have anyone from Hungary making the presentation. So let's move on to Italy. Army Education and Training Command at School of Applied Military Studies, Italy, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, also in video, I think. Good morning to everyone. My name is Enrico Spinello. I'm Lieutenant Colonel of the Italian Army, and I'm currently position is as a section chief for University and External Relations, and I belong to the Italian Army Education and Training Command, a School of Applied Military Studies in Torino. Next slide, please. Now this is the team, the Italian team that participate to this seminar. It's composed of four people. Major Stella Cavaliere, she's the agency chief for social psychology and quality control. Captain Elisa Ferrero, she's also psychologist in the agency. And we have two students, Lieutenant Filippo Panarello and Second Lieutenant Alessandra Adamo. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to give you an overview about our organization. As a military officer training school, we are in charge of providing basic and advanced education and training for Army officers. We have the main courses based on a 5-year cycle based on bachelor degree and master degree in strategic science and strategic and military science. We manage this course together with the University of Turin. We are also in charge of all other recruitment and education for direct entry officers, reserve officer and special reserve officer, and also for the officer who came as an internal recruitment. We are founded in 1739, so we are one of the most ancient institutes in Europe for officers. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we manage our courses, university courses, in cooperation with the University of Turin. So I want to give you some information about our relation with this civilian university. University of Turin was founded in 1404 and is one of the most ancient and most prestigious Italian university. Hosting about 70,000 students, is today one of the largest Italian universities. It carries out scientific research and organizes courses in all disciplines, with some exceptions in engineer and architecture field, because in Torino we have another university, the Polytechnic of Turin, and we also cooperate with the Polytechnic of Turin for our engineer courses. Next slide, please. In order to manage courses for officers and specifically also for civilians, University of Turin created some years ago a special interdepartmental university school for strategic sciences. We cooperate with them, and we have these two levels: bachelor for officer and bachelor for civilians, and a master degree in strategic military sciences for officers. While for civilian students, we have the master degree in strategic sciences. In order to provide faculty to these courses, we have a professor coming from 9 different departments, because multidisciplinarity is one of the key words in our courses. We also have professor from Polytechnic of Turin, and we have military teachers for topic to cover military activity and training. This school is composed of...
Perdón, Antonio, gracias. Gracias.
Can you hear me?
Sí.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you. Please.
Yeah, okay,
Please.
okay. And so all professors come from other departments, while this school is composed of staff personnel. Next slide, please. Going back to our gender seminar, among the armed forces and the army, we have several directives and guidelines in order to manage the gender perspective and gender topics. I want to give you just some information. Women can join the army since 2000, and until 2006, we have some position reserved during recruitment of new people, but since then we don't have any restriction. So we have no restriction for female in selection, career, and ranks. And we also provide maternity protection. Next slide, please. Going back to the military institution, which is located in Torino, we have some, you can see in the slide, some percentage about the staff. We have a 2% of officer, 3% of NCO, while for enlisted we reach 10%. The total in the academy is 4%. Going to giving you a wide perspective, in the armed forces in Italy, we have at the moment the percentage of female is about 6%, while in the army we reach 6.7% at the moment. Next slide, please. This is a picture of a distribution of women in our students, officer students. The total is 14.5%, and you can see in the first row is the main course is composed of 120 people every year. So on your right side you have the oldest course, and on the left side the youngest. So as you can see, we have an improvement. We start from 9%, and now we are going to 18.5. While in the bottom row, you can see the engineer courses, but these are is composed of few people, 10, 12 people per year. So more or less one female per course. And probably this is not give you a good idea about the distribution of women, but you have to consider also in this case we add an additional issue, the issue regarding the gender in STEM discipline. Next slide, please. So this is my short presentation. I can give you some additional information according to our guidelines. We have we introduced the topic of gender perspective as a regular basis, and we carry out lecture on the topic and specific active training activity for our young officer in order to be informed about the gender topics, because we consider that if you start from a young officer, you have a strategic action in order to have in the future future leader with aware of this topic and this activity. Thank you. If you have any question.
Thank you very much, Enrico. And let's move on to Norwegian Defence University College. I hear you have no slides, but would present verbally, please.
Yes, we can hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you for inviting us. My name is Marit Ramberg. I'm actually head of internationalization at the Norwegian Defence University College. And I have been in this position for less than a year, and I left the army after having served there for 13 years. I have been an officer in both ISAF and UN missions, so I have some experience from the practical field when it comes to gender-related issues. And further on today, you will receive a very interesting presentation from my colleague, Kjetil Enstad. So I will only present a very short overview from the Norwegian side, which I think is good also when it comes to the time. So in 2006, the Norwegian government issued a plan for the implementation of a resolution 1325. And additionally, Norway declared that it would be a leading country regarding women, peace and security, no less. And it was very nice to hear the nice words this morning in the opening statement regarding that we have indeed two generals leading the Norwegian Air Force. And we have a lot of women coming up in the most central positions in the armed forces. So great efforts has been made from Norwegian side to promote gender mainstreaming. For example, we have gender neutral conscription, which is compulsory to both male and females. We have unisex dorms for soldiers, which is proved to actually work very well for both females and males. And the Special Forces has a female hunter troop, which is a unit of the Special Operations Command. However, there is still more work to be done. So in November last year, me and a colleague were asked to look at how gender is being implemented in our organization at the Norwegian Defence University College and what resources were allocated to it. This was a task given by the General and Chief of our institution, and it's something that our new Chief of Defence is very eager to have a more detailed look at in the future. So in this context, it's very important to know that we at the Norwegian Defence University College went through a very large reorganization a few years ago. So it has in many ways changed how we work and how we research and where we are allocated resources. Basically, we have less resources and more to do, which is probably a well-known phenomenon to most of you. So we looked at several different departments within our institution, including our 4 military academies that are based on different locations in Norway. And the conclusion was that gender was a larger part of both research and in the teaching side before we had the reorganization. This was not only evident when it came to the actual teaching of cadets, but also with the resources and expertise within the field from the employer point of view. And the department's answer to this was mainly due to limited resources perspective. There was no time and there was no pressure to actually teach and research on gender when they had a lot of other stuff that they had to go through as part of the education. So, however, there is not all dark. All departments and all our military branches are promoting what we are calling the Armed Forces core values, which for us is respect, responsibility, and courage. And in addition, the Armed Forces Action Plan is thought on a regular basis throughout the organization. And the action plan puts emphasis on attitudes, ethics, and leadership. So when I say that we have a long way to go when it comes to implementing gender mainstreaming in the Norwegian Armed Forces, it is because there is a long way to go from the nice words and to action and actually implementing it in the entire organization at all the levels. Gender and our action plan and our core values are very good for the festive speeches, but the words needs to be transferred down the system to actions at all levels of our organization, not only by the generals at the top of the chain. However, it's also very important that they, of course, promote this. You will, as I said, receive a throughout presentation from my colleague who is more of an expert in this field than I am. So I will just finish off by saying thank you to the Military Academy in Estonia and to Birgit and to the Erasmus Network for organizing such an important seminar where we can exchange ideas and we can learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marit. Our next presenter is Austria. I also hear that you have no slides, but will you say a few words without slides, or would you like to present? Teresa Military Academy. Austria?
I was talking for Emilio rather than for Teresa Military Academy. Probably Andrea would like to say some words.
Yes, Andrea, are you there? Okay, it seems that Andrea is not there. So, Harald, unless you want to say something yourself?
Not really. I did my presentation during the last meeting, so you can jump to the next.
Okay. So next would be Cyprus Defense and Security Academy. Is there anyone from Cyprus?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Major Christoforos Christoforou. Actually, we are a very new academy in Cyprus. Me and Simeon Zambas, we start operating this academy. So we would like some time. We would like from you to give us some time to prepare our presentation on this matter. And we are very, very new, and we will come back to you in one of our next seminars, okay?
candidate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Next, General Jonas Semaitis, Military Academy from Lithuania.
Good morning, do you hear us?
Yes, Lithuania, we can hear you.
Okay, 1 minute, please.
Okay. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Ignas Bilnevičia, and I'm today with my colleague Paula Lifauskaitė. We are second-year cadets from Military Academy of Lithuania, and today we are going to present you gender perspectives from the Military Academy of Lithuania. Next slide, please. So what we are going to talk about today. So first of all, we're going to present the evolution of women's presence in Lithuanian armed forces. Then we're going to present you our pilot survey that we did in our military academy. And then we're going to talk about men's and women's relationships in our military academy. Next slide, please.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Paula. And first of all, we will talk a little bit about the evolution of women in Lithuanian armed forces. So I've put there a couple of the most important facts for you to know. There is in total of 11.7% of women in Lithuanian armed forces by the 2019. And sadly, it is not compared to other NATO countries, a very high percentage, but we are still happy to have that. Now, talking about the women in our military forces, women had very important roles in the guerrilla warfare that happened from the 1944 until the 1953, where women sent the information to the partisans and helped to fight the war. Now, from the 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, women were officially accepted to the military, and they wanted, just as men, to protect their country and make sure that the history doesn't repeat and that the enemies, don't repeat the history of our country. And what is really important to us as cadets of the Military Academy is that from the 2000, the Military Academy of Lithuania welcomed the first women. And just like us right now, I am being trained to become an officer in the future, and we are very glad for that. So these are the milestones of the evolution of women. Next slide, please.
So now I'm going to present you our pilot survey that we did in our military academy. The survey was made by sharing a link with the questions, and the survey took place from the February 12th to February 13th. The link was available only for 24 hours, and we have 59 respondents. So we can see that we have 80% of the respondents male and 20% female. And we know that in our military academy, there is 80% of men and 70% of women. By that, we can say that that interest in our survey was quite similar in terms of gender. Next slide, please. In this pie chart, we can see the age of our respondents. We had the most of 18 to 20 years old. There were 55% of that age group, and year of study, we have the most of second-year cadets, and we had a lot of first-year cadets. Next slide, please. Then they had the question, in what study program do we study? We have three different bachelor study programs in our military academy. It is Management of Defense and Technologies, National Security and Defense, and International Relations. And by looking at this pie chart, we can say that the biggest interest in our survey showed the International Relations program students. Next slide, please.
And I would like to say that for some reason, the percentages are not showing in our slides. Everything is okay, so sorry about that.
Then we had a question for our respondents. We asked, have we ever heard about United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325? And most of the respondents said that they never heard about this resolution, more than 50% to be exact. And from those who said that they heard about this resolution, most of them said that we heard from our study program in military academy. Some of them heard from the media, from the people around their environment, read online, or heard in school.
And we are very glad that our lecturers take time for cadets to know what is this resolution. So we're happy that in our academy we're talking about it.
Next slide, please.
So another question was, how do you understand the statement feminist foreign affairs and security politics? So as we can see, the vast majority of respondents said that it's equal rights for men and women to, for example, have the same position in the office or in the military. Next, a lot of respondents said that only women's matter in feminist foreign affairs. And interestingly, the majority who answered this question that way were men. And then actually quite a high percentage of the respondents said that they didn't understand the question. So it would be interesting to know why, and have they never thought about it or read about it. So next slide, please. Now, another question was, what actions can be called discriminative by gender? And we kind of categorized the answers into two categories. So the first of all, the biggest percentage was for different jobs for men and women, so that women don't have the same abilities to have the same positions as men. And then a little bit less said double standards. Next slide, please. And the last question was that there are no women generals in Lithuanian armed forces as of yet. And when will the first women general appear? So I would like to remind you that the first woman was accepted to the military academy in the 2000s, and it takes a lot of time for male or female to become a general. So it is understandable why no one answered that until 2026. Now, the majority of people said never, which is very interesting. A little bit less said after 2036, and some people answered from 2026 until 2036. Next slide, please.
Paula?
Yes.
Can we now have a discussion?
Sure.
What do you think about our relationships in military academy between men and women?
Well, from my own experience personally in our academy, I feel like there are some different requirements that have to do with physical activities in our academy, but it is understandable because men and women have slightly different physiologies. Have you felt these differences?
But to be clear, as far as I know, in our military academy, men and women are subjected to the same requirements in the field exercises or exams, right?
Right. So that's important to mention that we are not only soldiers, we are students as well. So if we're talking about exams or academic work, we are definitely subject to the same requirements. Now, what do you feel about physical work that has to do with, giving more physical tasks to men? Is that true?
I think there's a tradition in Lithuania and in military to give more physical demanding work to men, but I don't think there is a rule. I think there is a tradition in our country. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be true as well. But from my own experience, I know that, for example, my women colleagues, they often ask for more physical work rather than creative. And what a sad example would be is that in our battalions, cadet battalions headquarters, women are given more creative tasks or tasks that have to do with communications. So not such manly, let's say, activities. But yeah, overall, I think that, you know, what would you have to say about our, in general, everyday relationships?
I don't know. I think in our military academy, men and women are not doesn't feel separated from each other, and the relationships between men and women are quite friendly. Yeah, so basically, although we have differences in physical work and we are required the same things from academic work, in our everyday life, we are not differentiated or separated, and we get along all together. Next slide, please. So thank you for your attention. I'm Paula, this is Ignas, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Lithuania. It was a great idea having your cadets do the presentation. It's really awesome. Now let's move on to where were we? Romania. Yes, the Nicolae Balescu Land Forces Academy in Sibiu. I guess now we have that for you, Ramona. Ramona, we cannot hear you.
Yes, of course. I apologize. I just turned my camera on, but I forgot to turn on my microphone. So good morning again. Nice to see you, and congratulations, Lithuania, for the wonderful presentation. Congratulations to the students. Very well prepared. Such a good idea. I will try to be as short as possible with the presentation from the Nicolae Balescu Land Forces Academy. Could you please go on to the next slide, Anna? This is the short agenda of my presentation. I will have a short introduction related to gender perspectives and gender mainstreaming. I will present the national and the Land Forces Academy's approach to gender-related perspectives. I will show you a short distribution of male-female students at our academy, some teaching gender-related subjects that we have in our academy, and of course, a short conclusion. Next slide, please. Just to introduce the topic, I would like to say that I believe, and also representatives from our academy believe, that adding a gender perspective has the potential to transform the traditional military paradigm by including and creating an increased understanding of the importance of non-traditional security issues, and that gender mainstreaming is the process of assessing the often different implications for women and men of any plans, policies, and activities of all actors involved. The United Nations Security Council's resolution that you all know, 1325, calls for the systematic implementation of a gender perspective in peacekeeping and peace holding by all member states. The ultimate goal of mainstreaming is often described as achieving gender equality. Next slide, please. As far as Romania's involvement and also our academy's approach to gender-related perspectives, I would like to say that we have, in 2002, the Romanian Parliament adopted a law on equal opportunities between women and men, which specifically focuses on gender equality, and it is also called the Gender Equality Law. In 2014, Romania has adopted the 10-year plan for the implementation of the United Nations Security Council resolution of women, peace and security. And in accordance with that plan, with this 2014 plan, a gender advisor permanent position was established at the level of the Ministry of Defense. Next slide, please. Romania, and of course our academy, is trying to focus on the three main pillars of women and peace and security resolution, which are prevention, protection, and of course participation. Next slide, please, Anna. I just have some reports, some extracts from Romania's national reports to the NATO Committee on Gender Perspectives, which refer to the percentage of military active duty of the military personnel, which is distributed on male and females. Also, the next two slides, if you can show them, there are just some comparisons between the distribution of males and females by ranks and by services. The reports are available. The last one was updated on July 2020, and Nevena Tanasova from Bulgaria can tell you more things about this because she's a member from Bulgaria to NATO committee related to gender perspectives, and she's more into this topic. They are just official reports. And next slide, please. I would just like to tell you again about Nicolae Bălcescu's educational perspective related to gender equality. And here I would like to mention that there are no restrictions or differences regarding the entrance examination in our academy, in the military academies, between females and males. There are just physical fitness requirements and tests for the entrance exam. We have the same tests but different standards, which are gender-based, and I gave some examples for the running test. For the 2,000 meters, how do you say it? Test, proba. For the 2,000 meters running test, they have to, female candidates have to pass it under 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and male candidates under 8 minutes and 30 seconds. So there is a slight difference in this physical test. I have also presented, next slide, short distribution of male and female students at Nicolae Bălcescu Land Forces Academy throughout the last 3 academic years. The percentage of female students for the bachelor degree studies is over 20%. This is the ratio. And the next slide I have for the master's degree studies. There is a slight difference here. There are less female students for the master's degree studies than for the bachelor's degree studies. Next slide, my dear. I have also tried to include some topics, some courses that are taught in our academy, which refer and relate to gender issues and gender equality. And I have mentioned them, so including the number of hours that are assigned for each topic. So as you can see, military organizational behavior includes 4 hours of teaching related to stereotypes. Fundamentals of leadership, we have 8 hours assigned for this course, and the topics refer to gender socialization and women in leadership positions. There is also another study discipline called Basic Military Terminology, 6 hours assigned for this class, and the topic refers to women in the military. Cultural awareness, which is taught at our international semester, has 12 hours of classes related to gender roles, positive discrimination, cultural attitudes towards gender issues. And also during the interoperability course that is also taught at the international semester, there is a topic called gender challenges, and 4 hours are assigned to this course, to this class. As a short conclusion, I would just like to mention that change of mentalities and overcoming biases can only be achieved through dialogue, tolerance, and acceptance of diversity. This is the conclusion that both me and my colleague Isabella have included for our first and second gender seminars, and we try to insist on this conclusion. We also believe that changing the mindset of personnel in military organizations by making them aware of the necessity of supporting gender mainstreaming is extremely important. We believe that we have to include gender advisors in the military organizations, not just at the level of the Ministry of Defense. It is not enough to have only one advisor for all military academies and military organizations. It's not necessarily for the educational part, but gender advisors should be employed in each military unit in our country. And as the final conclusion, we believe that gender perspectives should be included in existing training modules and not treated just as a standalone topic. Thank you for your attention. Sorry, I don't know why I'm nervous. Next slide, my dear. There is a short bibliography. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Ramona. It's a wonderful presentation again. We have just enough time to do our last two presentations. So let's start with Portugal, Academia Militar. Portugal, are you ready?
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Paulo. I'm from Portuguese Military Academy, and I'm going to make a small presentation of the Portuguese Military Academy with Sofia Menezes also. So, the Military Academy, the Portuguese Military Academy, is located in Lisbon and Amadora, two cities of Portugal. Next slide, please. We're going to talk a little about the structure and the organization of our institution. Then we'll talk about a little about the education and training, and then how are we strengthening the gender perspectives. Next slide, please. So the structure, we have a commandant, a major general, and then a deputy commandant, a brigadier general, and they have all the staff, the education directorate, a corps of cadets with 2 battalions of students, the administrative and support service directorate, and the research and development center. Next slide, please. We give master degrees to our students, to the Army and to the Republican National Guard. The Army for the Ministry of Defense and the National Guard for the Ministry of the Internal Affairs. The courses the specialties are military sciences, administration, military engineering, and medicine, dental medicine, and veterinary medicine. About the students, we have 480 students this year, 62% for the Army and 35% for the National Guard. We have 89% of male and 11% of female right now. Okay, so now I pass the floor to Sofia to talk a little about.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. So I'll continue from here. So within the curricular units, we have military sociology, and there's the topics they talk about gender and all these topics around here. Okay, so for all students, I think in the second year. So the next slide, please. And then that was academically. Within the Corps of Cadets and the military training units, we've been trying to increase and improve this gender mainstreaming capacity and knowledge. So last year we organized this Gender Mainstreaming in Operations conference. It was given to all our almost 500 cadets, plus cadets from the Air Force and the Navy. It was with the participation of our friend, Lieutenant Colonel Juan Lucero from the military observatory that our colleague Cristina mentioned a while ago. So from Spain, it was via Zoom and it was very enlightening for our cadets. So this year we already had in February another conference given by our GENAD, so the gender advisor, first Portuguese gender advisor in the Central African Republic. And they were very interested and asking questions. So it's good to know, learn from experience. And we intend to continue this type of initiatives, either by other seminars and also by doing workshops when we can come back to the academy and doing role playing and some games, because by gaming is a wonderful tool to use in this context. Next, please. Also, we've been having some students interested in the topic of gender perspectives and gender mainstreaming. So we had these 3 dissertations. So at the end of the course, they do these theses or dissertations. In this case, we had these 3, the influence of gender in task performance in the National Republican Guard, then gender perspectives in the Special Operation Forces, a systematic literature review, which would be even more wonderful if the students had the chance to do it as you wanted, because you went to Poland, to our peer academy, AWL, but then there was COVID and you had to come back. So we just had to do a systematic literature review. And then we had this United Nations Security Council resolution 1325 on gender issues and their impact on the military academy, which was a great job. And also the student, now a second lieutenant, is working with us in the project that our colleagues will talk in an hour, I guess. So next slide, please. Okay, then research and development. In terms of research, we have, as Harry already mentioned, the EMUDO and the LOD10s and the mainstreaming, where we are working together with Nevena and all the other colleagues and doing always great improvements in the area. And then we have the Erasmus and the Erasmus Plus, the Strategic Partnership Military Gender Studies, in which the students that did that job on the that dissertation on the resolution 1325, she's working with us. So now we're trying to not only have our students doing dissertations and articles on the topic, but also to make them work in terms of research. And this research also happens in the CINAMIL. CINAMIL is our research and development center at the military academy. And we also are doing a survey on the implementation of the WPS agenda. And also we will be talking about that in another panel. The next, please. So to sum up, we believe that in terms of gender mainstreaming, training and education are the right tools that we must continue using in order to improve and increase this common path and common grounds where we all want to be bigger and to grow as people and human beings. So I guess education and training is the way, and we are going on the right way altogether. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you for this presentation. And now our last presentation for this is the LOD chairwoman, University, Vasilevsky National Military University of Bulgaria. Laura, will you present?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Teodora Ivanova. Well, actually, this is not the LOD-10 chairman. I'm her colleague. I work for Vasilevsky National Military University in Bulgaria. I'm very happy to be part of this seminar, and I feel privileged to have the chance to present our university, although I believe it has been presented at similar forums a couple of times. So I will quickly go through the basic and general things about the university and slightly touch the gender perspective that is towards the end of my presentation. Next slide, please. This is the contents of the agenda of my presentation. Vasilevsky National Military University is the oldest military educational institution in the Balkan Peninsula, and in our country it is the successor of the first military school, which was established in 1878, as you can see, 140 years ago. Next slide, please. It is located in two different locations. It comprises of two faculties, the Land Forces faculty in the town of Veliko Târnovo and the Artillery, Anti-Aircraft and CIS faculty in the town of Shumen. Next one, please. The motto of our university is the famous quote by our patron Vasilevsky: "We are within time and time is within us." In this slide, you can also see a copy of the first order with which the first military school was established 140 years ago, and you can see moments of a ceremony held around the university. Next slide, please. The structure of our university, it has, of course, a command, academic division, research and innovation institute, professional NCO college, and several training centers, including a distance learning center. Next slide, please. The academic division, I already mentioned the two faculties in the towns of Veliko Târnovo and Shumen, and two language departments at each of the locations in Veliko Târnovo and Shumen. Next one, please. The purpose of the training is to form leaders possessing essential leadership qualities, knowledge and management skills, as well as organizational capabilities. Next slide, please. We teach different categories of trainees. Of course, cadets are our main category of trainees, but also we have civilian students who are taught towards bachelor's and master's degrees. We have PhD students. We have a lot of postgraduate students who come back to the university for various courses. And of course, we have NCO students. Next one, please. Here you can see a sample of the curriculum for cadet training. Our cadets, I would like to say that graduate from the university receiving 2 bachelor degrees in a civilian specialty and in a military specialty. Of course, they have subjects for both specialties, and of course, these subjects have an area of intersection which actually combines the different things, all the different things that they study over the 5 years of training. Next one, please. In this slide, you see a pie chart giving you an idea of how the different topics and different subjects are distributed in percentage and in the number of physical classes. Now things are different, although we try to meet the state requirements and to have the respective number of classes, even though we teach online. The next one, please. Here you can see moments of our military training, which includes basic military training, field exercises, shooting practice, tactical exercises, survival course, etc. And all this comes after and is combined with preceding theoretical training. The next one, please. Okay, here now we come to the gender issues. The cadets are, of course, male and female. We have had female cadets for more than 20 years, and now they are about 20% of all the cadets. The first female cadets, as I already said, graduated in the years 1992 and 1995. Then there was a short break when we didn't have female cadets. And since 1995, women have been regularly accepted as cadets. And now all military specializations are open to female cadets. They can choose from all military positions as well. Here I would like to show you how gender perspective and gender education has been implemented in our curriculum. As you can see, they receive training, they listen to lectures and have workshops in the following topics related to gender differences. Maybe Colonel Atanasova can tell much more about that, since she is very much into this topic. Next slide, please. Also, I would like to say a couple of words about the Erasmus participation of our university. We are actually the first military university that became part of the Erasmus program more than 20 years ago. For this period, since 1999, we have had a large number of students and lecturers coming from our partner university, both military and civilian ones, to receive training for the students and to lecture for the academic staff that came to our university. Respectively, we have sent a lot of students and a lot of academic staff to our partner universities and academies, and we are very happy to be part of this program. Next slide. Which will complete my presentation. I would like to say at the end that we hope that this crazy period will come to its end soon, and we will be able to physically welcome our students and our partners to our beautiful town and to our military university, which is the oldest military school in Bulgaria. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Theodora. With this, we have concluded all the introductory presentations from all the military academies. And before we continue, let's take a quick break. We are a bit over our schedule, so the break will be a bit shorter, but let's continue in 5 minutes so you can grab a quick cup of coffee. And then Laura will continue. I will introduce her after the break. We will also leave the channel open, so feel free to ask all sorts of questions and discussions either by voice or in chat while we have this break. Thank you.